I'm Marie Sopko. This is Kindred Spirits Rescue Ranch. I'm the founder and the chairperson, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We do work with emergency services, and we work with some local fire departments and such, and we did get a phone call stating that there was a heat up of a couple of the cars that were holding toxic chemicals, and that the pressure release valves were not working, and so they were expecting an explosion, and that we should move the humans out of the house, and wait to get another phone call. So we did that, and this was probably about 11 o'clock at night the night before, and we then got another call back saying that they had the situation more or less under control, but there was somebody that was being called in and flown in from another state that was a specialist in this, and to wait until the morning to see what was going to happen. So we had already, at that point, put all of our animals in the barns and closed them up just in case, something went awry at that point. The next morning, we got a phone call saying that, they were going to potentially do a controlled explosion. They weren't exactly sure, but that we should probably start evacuating. So we then started to contact people with trailers and things like that to work on the removal of, the animals from the property. And that's when things started to heat up a little bit more. We got, some additional phone calls, saying that, they were going to do a controlled release somewhere around 12:30. We should try to get everybody, off the property at that time. And then at that point it changed, or at some point I should say, the time changed to about 3:30. So that's about what that day looked like. So I don't think that anybody really knew what to think. I mean, everybody kept saying that only people within a 1 mile radius needed to evacuate. However, nobody could kind of figure out that data because it was a very, very windy day, that day even more so than what it is today. The wind was kind of blowing a little bit all over the place. Our emergency systems were going off on our phones, and it was still saying, to evacuate a 1 mile radius, but it was coming out to people, up to, I think, a 5 mile radius at that point. And then they closed off the road right at the intersection of 168 and 51. And that led us to believe, like, hey, somebody knows, if somebody's expecting something a little bit, further here. So, it was just very confusing, and I don't think anybody knew exactly what to do. So I think this far out, most people were, just staying in their houses, and they were just, keeping everybody in. But just due to the nature of like what we do and, our animals, we just figured we should probably get them, out. We didn't want, we knew what kind of chemicals were going to be released, and we were, fairly concerned about that. So when we saw that plume come up, it was not a normal color, of smoke. It was like a really kind of dark blue, green, purple-ish, thing. And it was this just massive, thing that kind of came up and then, came over. So as soon as we saw that, we were like, oh no, this is not great. So it was pretty scary. So, I mean, our plan of action, obviously, we had already been in motion to try to get, the animals off the property. And when we saw that plume come up, my initial instinct was to tell people with trailers and to stop coming, because this is upon us. I'm closing everything up and just gonna, go in the house. But, these people, these volunteers that were from the community just kept saying, can we physically get to you? Like, is the road open? Can we get to you? Yes. And they said, we're still coming. We're on our way. And so they still, continued to, come. Now, we did have most of the animals, in the barns. There were only 3 that were outside of, a barn. So a lot of the work was, done inside, but it was absolutely amazing. Like the sheer amount of support. It was, I can't even describe what this road looked like. I mean, it was just a parade of, trailers in and out, and just people, moving animals in and out. And it just, kept going, and it went until probably about 6 o'clock or 6:30, when the last animal was out. So, I had put out pleas on social media, and then the Potters Township Fire Department, who had been here literally the day before when we were discussing, putting our county's animal response team back together, they got involved with it. They put out, a call. The manager of Tractor Supply, put out a call to everybody, that she knew. So yeah, it was just a big network of, people just calling people that had trailers, and they came. So it was amazing. My animals were so wonderful. These animals are so special, and they have come from such horrendous backgrounds, and we do work with them, building trust and building relationships with them to make them handleable and make them friendly and things. And again, it was the most amazing thing. These animals handled it so well. I mean, most of them, I think all but 4 of them, were loaded so very easily. They went off to Hookstown Fairground, actually opened up to just us, which was, it just chokes me up to think about it, because, to find a place to put all of these animals is just mind-blowing. And they opened to just us. And I mean, these people who were strangers to our animals with these horrible backgrounds, they just went into stalls there so easily. And I mean, honestly, they were not traumatized. They just did amazing. So I should say that one of our volunteers works for a company that makes the air quality monitors for the EPA uses, and her boss FedExed one overnight to her, so she was able to come here and test the air quality. 2 days later, it was fine. But we knew that, and how we knew that was we have lots of little songbirds that are in the barns and things, and they were fine. The wildlife was pretty normal. I do have a permit with the Game Commission to do capture and transport of injured wildlife. We didn't see what we sort of expected to see, a lot of, dead and injured wildlife. And that just, outside of the water, of course, that just wasn't really happening. So we were, pretty amazed. So our opinion is, test independently, test often. So, we will be testing our well water. We expect that we're going to get a baseline, and then I don't think it'll be for 6 months or so, down the line that we would see any, changes. So we're going to be diligent, about that. Soil testing, we, have that planned as well. But I feel pretty confident that, we're okay. So I think there are definitely enclosed areas, that may have, captured smoke and dust and, things like that, people should be aware of. But my opinion at this point, other than, certain areas of water, I think that the soil seems to be okay. I think that, the water here seems to be safe. It is very draining. It's extremely emotionally draining, because number one, the truth of the matter is that we don't know. I mean, we know what we know today, and we know what's on the land, today. We have no idea what actually, is going to happen in the future. We don't know if there are going to be cancers and, illnesses that, come, in years past. We don't know about the property values. We don't know. There's just a lot of unknown, right now, and it is definitely terrifying if you, think, if you think about that. It's aggravating that the people who are, right there on the front lines are not getting the help, that they need. it's aggravating that people who are 40 miles away are trying to claim, that they have, issues. Like the lady who claimed that her dog, when she, in Mars, claimed that her dog got tested positive for, vinyl chloride toxicity and was being treated, which was an outright lie. So, it's so emotional, and it's just aggravating. You see the people who, really, need the help. Some of those people aren't even taking it because they're proud people and they don't want to have to accept, help, but they need it. And then you see people, who, are further out from the situation, who are trying to take advantage, of, and it's very frustrating. You worry about the kids, the children who are likely the ones who are going to be affected the most. And then just the way that the news has covered everything has been very, frustrating as well. From our standpoint, we've been on the news a lot. Rachel has been on the news, a lot. And the thing is if your animals aren't sick and dying, they don't really want to talk to you, so they just want to hear the really bad stuff. They want to hear, they want to fuel, the fear that we already, have, and we don't need that. We need people to, kind of just give us the correct information, give us information on what we, are going to expect in the years, to come. It was a huge shock to me that the entire community, and not only just, this side of Beaver County, but the other side of Beaver County and Moon Township, and people just came out of the woodwork to help us, literally. I mean, this whole road, both directions, was full of, trailers and, people who were just around to help us. Farmers, people who just wanted to come, and they didn't maybe have any experience, but they just wanted to come in, and help. To us, that was just an absolute, amazing feat of what it is that country living is supposed to be about, right? So it's supposed to be the community coming together, to support, to support each other, people coming, together to support each other. And to me, that was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And I'm grateful, beyond grateful. And I don't know that I can ever express that. And I don't know how to reach the volume of people that came out to help. I can't even, I'll never know how to reach them and how to, thank them. And I don't know that they actually care. I don't think that they were there to be thanked. They were, there just to help. I mean, even people that, went up to the fairgrounds just to help me clean stalls and, haul in water every day. I mean, it's a lot of water to feed these, animals. And, many fire departments were coming in, hauling water, in for us. And yeah, it was just, there was a gentleman that actually, I wanted to sleep there because some of these animals are ongoing in the courts. And so they're considered to be evidence in the court of law. So they need to be protected. And so I had to sleep there. And, the first day somebody slept there for me and said, go home, if you need to go home and, check things out or go wherever you need to go. Find your husband and your father, where we took, them and make sure they're okay. I'll stay here. And then the second day, I was going to stay there, and somebody brought a beautiful trailer for me to sleep in. I mean, had, shower, water, everything. I mean, it was amazing. So, you can't beat that. It was amazing. I think this far out, we see it a little bit less than straight in East Palestine. But I think that the, people in this area really, want to support the people, in East Palestine too, and in Darlington that are, kind of, closer. And I just love that there is just so much generosity that, the supplies just keep going in and going into, that area. I mean, we had a call from somebody in the state of Indiana who was, giving, feed away. They're, trucking in feed to a farm that's not too, it's in Salem, and they're just, they have pallets and pallets of, feed and hay and, anything that, that a farm could need. We're not accepting any of that right now because we want to make sure, that the animals that are close, to the area that we want to make sure they have everything that they need. If there's anything left over, we're a nonprofit organization, we'll be glad to take it, but we want to definitely make sure that, everybody there has what they, need first. But it's just amazing because people from, even all over the country are reaching out in support. So it's a beautiful thing for sure. So, what we learned is that the need for the county animal response team is there, and that in a situation where there's needs to be evacuations and things that we need to kind of spit shine that process a little bit. I mean, we had what we would consider a dry run, and it was pretty good. I mean, to be honest with you, it was pretty good. It was not. I wouldn't say it was necessarily organized, but it was pretty darn, good. So we did learn, like what to expect when something like that happens, what the needs are going to be. We definitely have some, resources now. We are trying to put together like an enclosed trailer full of, like round pen panels and just different, carriers and, things like that to make it, easier to, round up animals that might just be, we had our animals in a barn, but in a lot of farm situations, you're gonna have cattle out in a field, horses out in a field, and they're not really gonna respond great to, being corralled up, and they're not maybe gonna be, able to be handled easily. So we want to have the tools, prepared and, have them like ready to go if we need to go. And then, we have learned how to move, like herds of animals and, how to do that in a much more like organized manner. So, yeah. So personally, from a Kindred Spirits standpoint, those are things that we want to, have on hand, just to provide for, not only Beaver County, but, anybody who would really need that kind of, help. We want to, have that on hand. And then, working on rebuilding the county animal response team, that will be another tool that we can use, for that as well.